let's think of an application of the dot product. If there's a constant force F and it moves an object from a point P to a point Q, then the displacement vector of the object would be the vector d, or the vector PQ. The amount of work that the force does in moving the object is just the component of F in the direction of the vector d, or the displacement distance. And if theta is the angle between F and d, we would have the formula that the work is equal to the component of F in the direction of d times the magnitude, or the displacement, of the vector d. And knowing our formula about the component, we have the magnitude of F times the cosine of theta times the magnitude of d, which we know from our identities is just F dot d. So if we were given an example problem that a child pulls a red wagon a distance of 200 meters by exerting a force of 100 newtons at 20 degrees above the horizontal. In other words, we have this wagon here, and it's being moved from point P to the point Q at 200 meters. And there's a force of 100 newtons being applied at 20 degrees, like this. How much work has the child done in moving the wagon? Well, we could just look at this as the work is equal to the magnitude of the force cosine of theta times the magnitude of the vector d, which we have all the parts for. 100 newtons cosine of 20 times 200 meters, which, if we just distribute all of this out, would be 20,000 cosine of 20 degrees, which would just be approximately 18,794 joules, of course, because we're in units of work. And these are all in meters and newtons. Everything's in its standard notation. Now, we did this with our force, cosine, and our magnitude of d. We could have written this in vector notation, which we would know that the force vector would have just been, well, how much is it pushing in this direction, which would have been 100 times cosine of 20. How much is it pushing up in this direction? That's 100 sine of 20. And that would be the force vector. And then d, the displacement, well, it moved 200 in the x direction and 0 in the y direction. So again, the formula would have been F dot d, which would give you the same solution.